Hi, it's Sarah here at Heritage Art. Welcome to my studio. It's January 2025 and I have decided to embark on a long-term project. I've wanted to commit myself to a long-term project for a while, and I finally decided on a project that I want to work on. Now, I want a long-term project, so something I can chip away at. There's no pressure to have it out the door next week or next month, but I can just enjoy the process. And I really like that idea. So the quilt that I've chosen for this is called the Dear Jane quilt. It's by Jane Stickle, and each block is unique. There's 225 blocks. Yes, that's a lot of blocks, but I'm really excited about increasing my sewing skills, my precision, flattening points, and working on hand applique as well. So that is the quilt that I've chosen. Let's talk colors. Okay, first up, some people might think I'm completely crazy, but rather than make one quilt, I thought it'd be really fun to make two versions of each block as I go. I know. Talk to me in a couple of months and we'll see how I feel about that. But right now, I'm committed to making one whole quilt and potentially a second whole quilt as well. However, if I find that it's too time consuming, I'll make an assortment of blocks for the second quilt and arrange them in some funky different design and maybe make a wall hanging. So it's a win-win. So let's talk the colors for the first quilt that I'm committed to long term. So the idea was I didn't really want to buy a lot. I didn't want to buy a lot of fabric. I want to use up what's in my stash. So the Dear Jane quilt has a lot of background. So that is the one fabric I bought. But I bought a Kona solid. I bought a bolt. It's called Bone. So it's almost like an ivory, like a cream. So that's the background. Now, a bolt, because there's about 14 yards on here, which I hope, if my paper piecing is not too bad, that will be enough for the background. So that's the background of the first one. And then I went to my stash and just pulled out a whole lot of oranges. Apparently, my husband and I like orange. So I have a whole lot of orange fabrics here. So the first quilt is going to be orange, and that with a bone background. I thought that was a fun, maybe contemporary look to the quilt. That's the first one. Now the second one that I'm not committed to making the whole quilt, but definitely a lot of blocks. I wanted some low volume backgrounds. So I went into my stash, found some low volume backgrounds. Basically they're neutral colors with very small prints or just prints that don't take over. That's what low volume is. And then I thought it'd be fun to do like teal or blue-green at this stage. Anyway, so I went to my stash of Kona solids, and I have a lot of solid fabrics. So I just pulled out all the blue-greens that seem to work. Actually, there's one there that's maybe not blue-green enough. But the reality is I'm going to start with doing an assortment of blocks, and if I find that it's a bit boring with just this, then I can add a complementary colour in. So that's my colour palette. Now, the other thing I just wanted to mention is that the original quilt was all hand-pieced. It's amazing, absolutely. And I have a couple of friends I know who started the quilt and stopped, and I think they were doing it by machine. But you can, if you have the book, if you buy the book, look inside, every block is actual size, and there's a smaller one of it too finished in the quilt. So people can make their own templates from that larger block there, which is a ton of work, but many people do it and they end up with great products. I didn't want to have to do that. So I have bought some software. It's called Electric Quilt Software. And it has a program, it has an add-on that you can purchase. And it has all the blocks for the Dear Jane quilt in there. And you can select one and you can print off either the rotary cutting instructions or the paper piecing instructions. So I've gone with paper piecing because I wanted to be really accurate. And so when you print it off on the appropriate paper, and it prints off like this, all the separate pieces. Now, the one thing I'll say about it is that I found it hard to tell which was background and which was foreground when I printed it off. So when I'm printing it off, sitting in front of the computer, I grabbed just a highlighter and I've highlighted all the feature fabrics. That way when I'm at my sewing table and I've cut these out, I don't have to think too hard about which piece goes on which fabric, because I know the highlighted ones are the feature fabric, they're the coloured ones. Yeah, so there we go. There's my new project for the next few years. Anyway, the Dear Jane quilt. If it's something that you're partway through or that you're interested in dialoguing about, send me a message and I'd love to have a chat about it. Anyway, check in monthly. I plan to upload monthly updates with pictures of my blocks, things I've learned, things I don't want to do again. And it should be a fun ride. So thanks for tuning in.